fun to watch. Let's go to Dolphins at Patriots. The Patriots return to Foxborough for some home cooking and blow out the previously undefeated Dolphins, 38-7. Gavin, this is exactly what you expected, right? Coming off a loss, they're going to go in there and destroy the division rival.
Absolutely. Brady is 14-1 against the Dolphins in Foxborough, his last loss being in 2005.
Wow.
So I didn't expect the Dolphins to have a chance. They were 3-0, but I think that was a little bit fluky. And the Patriots, I don't think anyone expected them to regress that much this year. So, the most shocking thing, I think, out of this whole game was that they had a clear number one running back on the Patriots.
Yep.
Usually it's a mixed match. I think part of that might be due to some injuries that they've had, but they also spent a first-round pick on a running back, and the last time they did that, they certainly tried to – oh, man, I'm forgetting his name. They tried to get that guy going, but he never quite did. But it's good to see Sony Michel go out there and make some plays. And maybe that can be enough to help Brady out because he was facing a ton of pressure, though, against Miami. To their credit, their pass rush was really good. Both of his picks were as a guy was flying at his face. He had to let the ball go and were a little bit errant.
Yeah, and they definitely use the running backs a lot. Like you said, Tony Michel, 25 carries, 112 yards, and a touchdown. And then James White combines for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. Josh Gordon makes his Patriot debut, 2 catches for 32 yards, and says after the game that he's all in on trying to be a major role in this team. Dolphins rookie safety Minkah Fitzpatrick catches his first NFL interception. And Dolphins veteran running back Frank Gore, who led the team in rushing with 41 yards, is now 4th all-time in career rushing yards, trailing only Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, and Barry Sanders. Stoyo, what do you think of the game? And kudos to Frank Gore.
Yeah, great job, Frank Gore. That's a great list to be on. I called this game 42-10 before the game started. So
nice, good call.
This is pretty much what I expected. The Patriots are not quite dead yet. So, yeah, standard. Tom Brady did have 2 picks. Which was a little bit more than they probably wanted to, but this is just straight old Patriot business, I guess. It has to be just awful for Miami when you're coming in 3-0. You have to believe, this is the time we're going to stick it to New England, and somehow, time after time, you just don't.
They gotta hate New England, man.
They have to. I mean, I would hate to be a Dolphins fan, so I always have to deal with the Patriots. But
yeah.
Hey, I guess I'm a Bears fan, and I have Aaron Rodgers to deal with, so I kind of know how that feels.
Yep, we hate Aaron Rodgers too, so
yeah,
we understand. Dolphins will look to return to form in Week 5 at the Bengals, 3-1 Bengals. Let's go to Jets at Jags, where the Jags claw past the Jets in Jacksonville, 31-12. Good game from Bortles, 29 of 38, 388 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I thought the Jets defense was a little bit better than this. Rookie Sam Darnold goes 17 of 34, 167 yards and a touchdown. No turnovers, although Jags corners A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey each dropped an interception opportunity. T.J. Yeldon has a good game, combines for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gavin, the Jags over the Jets. Actually, I'll go to Stoyo here. Stoyo, the Jags take care of business at home. Good win. What do you think of Jacksonville? Even Leonard Fournette gets hurt, and they still take care of business. Are the Jags going to be a contender this year again?
I guess so. I mean, when you have Blake Bortles almost going for 400 yards,
yeah,
this was like bizarre QB weeks. When you have Blake Bortles going for 400 and Trubisky throwing for 6 TDs and Tom Brady throwing for 2 picks. So I don't know what happened this week. But yeah, if the Jags can win without Fournette, that's a good thing. The defense is still looking good. But hopefully Fournette will come back and you don't want to see such a good running back dealing with injury problems. He has had some injury last season. He was banged up, and now again, so hopefully he can get that taken care of.
So, up against a decent defense is supposed to be out of the Jets. Gavin, are we starting to believe a little bit in Blake Bortles, or was this just is this a worse defense than we expected?
I think it's a worse defense than people expected. The offense of the Jets struggled heavily. Darnold, since his first game, he's had a 53.8 passer rating after week 1. So if you take out that abomination of a game, we're looking at a rookie quarterback that doesn't have a ton of talent around him. Not a great combination there. And the Jaguars' defense only allowed 178 total yards in this game. So that's going to lead to a lot of more opportunities for the offense to make some plays. And you got guys like Dede Westbrook and TJ Yeldon making plays in the open field. That's going to pad Bortles' numbers a little bit. I'm not going to be considering him a 400-yard quarterback week in and week out or anything like that. But, yeah, the Jaguars' defense is legit. They've allowed 4 touchdowns this season total, and none of them have come with the Jaguars leading by less than double digits.
Wow.
So definitely a really, really stout defense there. And they lost the turnover battle, the Jaguars did, and they had more penalties. But because they allowed less than 200 yards, they're going to win games that way.
Nice. Yeah. Jags continue to get it done. Jets will look to turn things around week 5 at home against the Broncos. This game was very interesting. We had a shootout in the Oakland Coliseum. The Raiders hold off the Browns 45-42 in overtime. The Raiders get their first win of the year. John Gruden gets his first win as head coach in 2018. He says, quote, "It feels like my first win in 100 years. It's great to be back," end quote.
It was pretty dang close to 100 years.
3,591 days.
Yeah.
To be exact.
That's crazy. Raiders quarterback Derek Carr, 35 of 58, 437 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. Should have been a fumble in there too. Cleveland rookie quarterback Baker Mayfield in his first career NFL start, 21 of 41, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 4 turnovers. Hurt him in this game, 2 picks and 2 fumbles. Stoyo, the Raiders get their first win, a big win here. If they had lost this, the sky would be falling. So, good for the Raiders to get it done?
Absolutely. I think John Gruden needed this win really badly.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it came close. I think the Raiders were fortunate on some calls. I think there was a questionable spotting of the ball late in the game. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the Browns could have easily won this game. And good for Baker. He's playing better than I expected. He did have some turnovers, but I feel like the Raiders gave him a lot more time that they should have. I feel like the Raiders could have used
Khalil?
a pass rusher. I guess they didn't need one anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to have an extra one that we could trade for, because we've been using him quite nicely. And defensive players of the year don't really usually grow on trees unless those trees are in Oakland.
Gavin, what did you think? The Browns were close to getting back-to-back wins here, but Oakland pulls it out in the end. A must-win pretty much for Gruden and the Raiders, huh?
Yeah, if he hadn't won this game and gone 0-4, I think that a lot more people would have joined my side and that he's not a good coach.
Yeah.
So good on them to be able to do that against one of the worst teams in the NFL. I guess a win is a win.
Mm-hmm.
Can't complain about that. But this was one of the worst games that I'd ever seen from all aspects. The offense is there's a bunch of turnovers.
Uh-huh.
The the defense was obviously awful because these awful offenses combined for 87 points. And Antonio Callaway dropped multiple passes, including a touchdown. Martavis Bryant dropped a clear touchdown. And, there's no one within 5 yards of him, and he still drops it.
Wow.
You see some bad blocking by Martavis Bryant as well. Marshawn Lynch probably could have had another touchdown if Martavis Bryant could learn how to block downfield when the guy's right next to him. But the worst thing of this game was the officiating.
Absolutely.
It was awful. You got early whistles when Marshawn Lynch is shedding a tackler and has both feet clearly planted on the ground and is about to move forward, blowing the play dead. Arden Key gets flagged for roughing the passer when he pulls up and hugs Baker Mayfield right after he throws the ball and then immediately jumps away from him. A clear strip sack by Myles Garrett.
I don't know how you blow the whistle there. That was egregious.
That I couldn't believe it. The only thing I could possibly think of was that Derek Carr was surrounded by Browns players, and so they just blew it dead because they're just trying to protect the quarterback. That's the only reason I could think of, because there was no forward motion at all. How it wasn't reviewed, and they didn't see he wasn't trying to throw the ball at all, is mind-boggling to me. But even more egregious than that one is the poor spotting on the Carlos Hyde first down that would have sealed the game and given the Browns the win. He clearly had that first down, and somehow they look at it and say that it's not a first down still, giving the Raiders a chance to tie the game up and take it into OT, which they did.
Are you sure that's a bad call? I looked at it a couple times. I thought that his elbow hit before the ball extended all the way.
I don't think so. I don't think that was the right call. And they ruled it a first down, right? Yeah,
so if you're going to rule it a first down, usually you stick with the call.
Right, and I definitely don't think that it was clear enough to overturn. So I would agree with the Cleveland Police Department, who tweeted after the game, robbery warrant issued for tonight's Browns game, NFL quote-unquote officials. Okay, we can't do that, but just saying. Seriously, that was awful, and the game was lost that time because of some awful officiating. I usually, it makes me so angry. We've got instant replay.
Yeah.
We still get this
Let's
shit
use
wrong.
it.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, you know what really grinds my gears, NFL? It's your officials blowing your whistle way too early. Premature whistles are ruining the game. Let the boys play football, please. They signed up for it. They know what they're doing. If they hit helmet to helmet, throw a flag. But let's let the guys finish a play before we just call it over. That fumble by Derek Carr, I don't know what the ref was looking at, because he gets hit, he fumbles the ball, it goes up in the air, and the Browns pick it up and are going to run. He's got a blocker in front of him. He might get tackled, but it might be a touchdown. At the very least, they could have reviewed it and given the Browns the ball at that spot where he picked up the fumble. I don't understand it. The Browns could have won this game 5 different ways, and the refs just pretty much handed it to him, in my opinion. One bright note, Jordy Nelson had a great 2-point conversion catch that was must-have at the moment and really got it done. So good win for the Raiders, but they had some help. I want to ask you guys this. We've been saying since before the draft that Sam Darnold's the better option. Baker Mayfield has been out on the field twice. Yeah, he's had some turnovers, but he was this close to being 2-0 as quarterback. Do you guys still in the camp that Sam Darnold's the better option than Baker Mayfield?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, so good, but you're really going to know in a year or two.
Yeah.
It's really not gonna go. I'm not gonna change my mind on the game-to-game basis, and I could be totally wrong, but in a couple seasons, we'll know for sure.
Yeah, and I was right there with you guys saying Darnold was the better option. Just from my point of view, from what I've seen, I like that Baker Mayfield he comes out there and he brings an energy about him. The team rallies around him. He seems to be leading. He seems decisive with his throws. I see potential there, more potential than I thought was there. And his connection with Callaway and with Landry have been pretty good so far. So we'll see. The Browns were close to getting 2 wins and being over 500 at this point. So we'll see if they can keep it up.
The Browns, they have better weapons than the Jets do.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that also this is the first game that a defense had some real NFL tape on Baker Mayfield. And so if you look at Darnold's first game, and then look at Mayfield's first game, I can't say you can look at those, apples to apples, but I think that not having a full game's worth of tape on someone does make a difference.
Absolutely.
So I think it's way too early to say about Mayfield because even in his first and second games, he didn't blow me away. Where Darnold's looking fantastic in his first game. So I think the ceiling's still higher for Darnold. But
and you want you want one game, but you want like a full season of game tape on a quarterback before you can really adjust and know how to defend him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then one bright spot here, Nick Chubb, the Browns rookie, showing great potential. 3 rushes in this game for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had like a 60-yard touchdown run and a 40-yard touchdown run. So he could be the future there, him and Baker, and Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett. So some good young talent there in Cleveland. Let's go to Seahawks at Cardinals. Well, the Seahawks keep the Cardinals winless. This was Josh Rosen's first NFL start. He goes 15 of 27 for 180 yards and a touchdown. The Seahawks get the win on a Sebastian Janikowski clutch field goal. He was only 2 for 4 in the game, but made it in the clutch. Some bad news for Seattle is star safety Earl Thomas breaks his leg in this game and shows his displeasure without getting a new contract by giving the Seattle bench the middle finger while he's being carted off the field. Stoyo, what did you make of the Seahawks-Cardinals? And good win for Seattle. Cardinals stay winless. Josh Rosen makes his debut. How do you think Rosen looked?
Rosen looked like a rookie.
Yeah.
And, Arizona is one of the worst teams this year, and they're headed to the bottom of the NFL right now. And, Seattle picked up a much-needed victory with a pretty good kicker. Yeah,
Janikowski keeps doing it.
This probably was the last of Earl Thomas on the Seahawks. I don't see how he ever plays a game again for them.
Is it justified for him flicking off the bench, or is that petty? Should he not be doing that?
I don't think it's ever justified. I think he basically did what he wanted to because, hey, they basically won this disagreement that they had, and they did not give him a new deal, and he broke down.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? This could be a career ender. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a nasty injury. The good news is no ligament damage. A break is better than a tendon tear. But what did you think, Gavin? A good win for Seattle, but losing their safety sucks.
Yeah, then not only did they lose Earl Thomas for the year, but they also lost him as a potential, part of a trade.
Yeah.
They'll likely get a third round, compensatory pick for him when he leaves in free agency. Because I agree with Stoyo, he's not staying in Seattle. But I believe their asking price or what they're looking for him, during the season was a second rounder. So they're looking at, potentially a round and a half to 2 round swing for what their compensation is for Earl Thomas. While they technically won because he got injured, I think that's a bad reason to have considered winning this. Like Russell Wilson could get hurt, and I don't think they're going to think that they won or lost really because we shouldn't have signed him. They wouldn't think that. A player of their level, when you're in the top 2 tiers, you don't I don't understand why you don't want to have them on your team. But I feel for Earl. This is exactly why he wanted a long-term deal, and this makes things interesting for other players that are holding out because they want a long-term deal just in case they get hurt.
So we all know that fans are overreactional and they freak out and they're very loyal to their team. How should Seattle fans look at Earl Thomas? Are they pissed at him for holding out and then flicking off the sidelines and not wanting to be there anymore? Or should they support him for all the good work he's done there in the past?
I think they should. I don't know that they need to support him and I say that meaning that they shouldn't have to hate the front office like he does now.
Yeah.
But I don't think they should hold anything against him. He didn't do this intentionally. I know there are some people that have said that he, by him holding out and missing some workouts, that made him, a lesser player and a higher chance for injury. But he got 2 picks the game before. Yes. So, I mean, he obviously was still playing at a high level. So I don't think that they should. I don't think that a fan in Seattle has anything to hold against Earl right now for what he did. It was obviously a smart move because had they signed him, he would have made the right business choice. And owners make business choices, and so I think the players should have that right as well.
Yeah, Stoyo, if say he was a Bear fan, would you be pissed off at Earl now, or would you appreciate the success that he's had in the past?
I would appreciate the success, but I would be definitely frustrated if a player flipped off the sideline.
Yeah.
I would take it quite personally as a super fan. So, yeah, if I was a Seahawks fan, I would be pretty upset with him. And, yeah, you don't like it, move along,
Yeah,
don't flip off my bench. Like, I'm a diehard fan. I would take that super personally. And you're just one player. It takes a whole 53 to win. So, yeah, you may be good, but it takes more than one.
Yep.
To win.
On top of that, the Seahawks also lose, who was looking pretty good, rookie tight end Will Disley. Patella tendon injury, placed on IR. So that's a big injury on top of it. So it's some tough losses for Seattle. Arizona still seeking their first win. Will play at the Niners in Week 5. Let's go to the Saints at the Giants. Saints go into MetLife Stadium and rough up the Giants 33-18. I expected the Giants to be a little bit more competitive. They're 1-3 and a tough home loss here. Gavin, are the Giants not going to be any good, even with Saquon and Eli and Odell Beckham and all these guys?
Yeah, because Eli's their quarterback. I think that Saquon has still looked pretty good.
Yeah.
He's the first guy, one of 5 players to go 100+ scrimmage yards in their first 4 games since 1950. So he obviously isn't struggling too much. But Odell Beckham, he relies on Eli to get him the ball, and he relies on him to get points. And Eli's been struggling. He hasn't been able to get the ball down the field very much. Lots of short and intermediate passes for him. And their defense has really struggled too. They lost to the Cowboys, who have been struggling this year, despite what they did last week. We don't need to worry about that. But I mean, the Saints they went on the road where Drew Brees supposedly struggles and put up 33 points, and their main weapons, Thomas and Kamara, were still heavily utilized. So it wasn't like they were using these terribly crazy plays or secret weapons that they had So I think the Giants are just a bad team, and it's hard for me to say they made the bad choice in picking Barkley because he's just so freaking good.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe if they just keep losing enough games, they'll be able to pick a quarterback in this next draft, and then they'll have Barkley to build on with that. So maybe it'll turn out, but I think anyone that thought the Giants were going to be great this year or had a chance to win a title, which their front officer said, a little delusional.
Yeah, and I had this team being a wild card, getting into the playoffs, and a 1-3 start doesn't help things. Stoyo, last year I was super critical of Ben McAdoo, their head coach, and I thought that he was the reason the Giants were so bad. But new head coach, star running back, same problem, sitting at 1-3. What's the Giants' issues here? Is it Eli?
I guess. I mean, to get a new offensive line, got a running back,
Yeah.
to have a stud wide receiver, a decent tight end, even though he's hurt right now. I guess it has to be on Eli now.
Yeah.
Maybe Eli is over the hill.
Yeah, might be looking that way. We'll see. They still have time to turn it around. Note on Alvin Kamara becomes the first player in NFL history with 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards in his first 20 NFL games. Dude is absolutely killing it.
Yeah, the Saints are 8-0 when he gets 10-plus carries.
Wow.
So
feed the guy.
Yeah, well, Mark Ingram comes back this next week, so it'll be interesting to see how they bring him back into their offensive scheming, because Kamara's been lining it up, even with him being gone, being the main guy. He's got 35 receptions in the first 4 games, which is the most since 1970 for a running back. And speaking of receptions, Michael Thomas passes Wes Welker for the most receptions in the first 4 games at 42 in the Super Bowl era. So they're getting it done, through the air, even in the short passes, and even on the ground. Kamara 19 rushes for 34 yards and 3 touchdowns. I would say that Mark Ingram is expendable at this point.
Yeah, and I would say you and Colin Cowherd might be onto something picking the Saints for the Super Bowl.
But I also said the Bucs could go 0-16 and probably beat my Super Bowl pick. So I don't know if I'd listen to me too much.
That lasted like a week, and they got their first one.
I know.
All right. The Giants will look to return to form Week 5 at Carolina. Another tough game there. Niners at Chargers. I didn't expect much out of the Niners here with C.J. Beathard getting the start, but it was a close game, hard fought. The Chargers had to rally to beat the Niners 29-27 at the StubHub Center. Phillip Rivers goes 25 of 39, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. And Rivers passes John Elway for 8th most yards in NFL history. Stoyo, got to be a little bit surprised the Niners put up this much of a fight, but good win for the Chargers.
Yeah, good win for the Chargers. I assumed the Niners were not going to win this game because Garoppolo went down. I didn't really watch it.
Yeah.
So I don't have much to say about it.
You a C.J. Beathard fan?
No. Absolutely not. He doesn't look like an NFL QB out there.
You were kind of high on the Chargers last year. Do you still like the Chargers? They're 2-2 right now.
I like the Chargers, but I don't think they're gonna go anywhere.
Okay. What do you think, Gavin?
I think they're a good team. I mean, if you look at their 2 losses, it's against the only 2 4-0 teams left in the league.
Okay.
The Chiefs and the Rams.
Yeah.
So, and they were in those games. They were, 10-point loss to the Chiefs and 12 points to the Rams in LA, which I guess is still a home game for them.
Kind of.
I don't know how that works out exactly, but I think you take those 2 losses and look at who they lost to, and look at how those teams have done against other teams. I don't think that those 2 losses are as bad as some others. So I think that they still have a chance to be a wild card team. I think, seeing how great the Chiefs have looked this offseason, that so far it's looking like they'll win the division. But I think they're definitely can be a wild card consideration if they can get a kicker that can make kicks. They've already missed 3 extra points this year, 2 of them in this game, and a missed field goal.
Yeah.
It's a bummer they couldn't get Dan Bailey when the Cowboys foolishly cut him, because I think that they would have a much better chance. They might as well just start going for 2, frankly.
Yeah.
If the kicker's going to be this bad.
Yeah.
You've got enough weapons on offense. Antonio Gates and Rivers obviously have a great connection. I think they're number 2 or number 3
all time.
All on the combo list there.
Yeah.
They need to find a kicker.
Yeah, Caleb Sturgis was definitely struggling, missing extra points. Forget field goals. If you can't make extra points, gotta get rid of you. Speaking of a kicker that is having success, Niners' Robbie Gould extends his consecutive field goals made streak to 33 in this game. Good thing the Bears got rid of him when they did, huh, Stoyo?
Of course. Ryan Pace, another mistake. Write him up.
Niners will look to get a win week 5 at home against the winless Cardinals. Let's go to Sunday night, where the Ravens go into Heinz Field and shock the Steelers 26-14. Flacco 28 of 42 for 363 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Steelers got absolutely nothing out of their running game in this one. James Conner was their leading rusher with 9 carries for 19 yards. After this game, Steelers star running back Le'Veon Bell says he will end his holdout week 7. What did you think of this one, Gavin? A big win for the Ravens on the road. A good division win here. Ravens improved to 3-1 out of nowhere. What do you think about Ravens looking pretty good and a decent defense there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that anytime this is one of the biggest rivalries in the NFL right now. These teams have been competing for the division for the last 15 years or so now. So if you can go on the road in this rivalry and get a win, that's huge, especially by double digits.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, they shut down the running game, made the Steelers one-dimensional. James Conner's averaged just over 32 yards a carry after the first game, where he went for 135. The 19 yards they got in this game is the fewest they've had since 1970.
Wow.
And they've allowed 400-plus yards to the opposing team in 3 consecutive games, which is the first time since 1954. So the Steelers can't run the ball and they can't play defense. You're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
And they, frankly, are lucky to be 1-2-1. They could easily be 1-3 at this point.
Is there, Stoy, I'm going to ask you this. The Steelers, a bad loss at home. They haven't looked that good this year, sitting at 1-2-1. Is this a personnel problem, or is there something wrong in Pittsburgh?
I think this is a personnel problem. The defense has huge holes, and also when it comes to that offense, James Conner is not Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
That's a problem there. And unless they fix that defense, I don't think it's a coaching thing. I just think it's personnel.
Yeah. Some definite issues going on. Do you agree with that, Gavin?
Yeah, I mean, they lost one of the best weapons in the NFL, and the Ryan Shazier injury is still haunting them.
Yeah.
You look at their defense last year and how big of an impact player he was. They were unable to stop the run and control the middle of the field last year after he went out, and you can't replace him. Those guys are not, just easy to come by. So you've got that, and you combine those two things, and I think that's going to make for a struggling defense and an offense that's going to look a little more one-dimensional. Juju Smith-Schuster's looked great this year. He's kind of continued with how he ended the season last year, but trust me, as a Lions fan, I know when you're really one-dimensional, it makes it harder to be successful on offense.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes everything harder when you're one-dimensional, and the Steelers are finding that out. They'll get a chance to fix it week 5 at home against the struggling Falcons, so that'll be a big game. The Ravens end the Pittsburgh's 9-game winning streak on Sunday Night Football at that game.
Wow.
Let's go to Monday night, where the 4-0, the Chiefs improved to 4-0. They struggled early, looked like they were going to lose this game in a tough environment, road division battle that they usually lose, but they got the job done. Patrick Mahomes comes through in the clutch, and Case Keenum does not. Case Keenum had a chance to take the lead in this game late, but missed an open Demaryius Thomas. Stoyo, what did you think of Chiefs at Broncos? I thought this was a perfect example of when Mahomes is going to come back down to earth, and he still really hasn't.
Yeah, definitely. He's having an MVP start of the season.
Yeah.
And it's really something to see. he has arguably the best arm in the NFL. It's just a gun out there. He can pretty much sling it all over the field, and it's just beautiful to watch. I'm definitely cheering for the Chiefs this year because that offense is just great to watch. And kudos to Alex Smith for mentoring Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick has given Alex Smith a lot of credit for what he did last year, even though he knew he was going to lose his job to him. But yeah, Mahomes is definitely the better QB that played, and Case Keenum is not quite there yet, even though he had some great plays himself. But Mahomes is knocking at the door of the next tier of QBs, and I think it's more than just the Andy Reid offense. It's just a perfect match for him.
So, all right, think about this. I keep telling people this. I say the Chiefs started 5-0 last year. Alex Smith was the leading MVP candidate through 5 weeks, and they came back down to earth, finished the year 5-6, go 10-6, and lose their first game in the playoff, blow another lead. Is this just another hot start for Andy Reid and those Chiefs, or do you think Mahomes is the real deal and can lead Kansas City deep into the playoffs?
I think that Mahomes is the real deal.
Uh-huh.
He's the difference between Alex Smith and Mahomes is that we've seen Alex Smith play for a decade before last year. Similar to Fitzpatrick, we kind of knew what to expect of him. And while yes, he did play really great at the start of last year, they also, similarly to Joe Flacco this year, drafted a quarterback in the first round, and I think it's easy to make the assumption that it kind of lit a fire under them, work a little bit harder. Flacco did more this offseason than he ever had, in the NFL. And so you could say that, Smith stepped it up because he knew he was going to be fighting for a starting job, where he was at and somewhere else this next year. With Mahomes, we can't say that for sure because we haven't seen him play, in the NFL. We don't know what the norm is for him. I don't think that's 4 touchdowns a game like it was through the first 3 games. So in that way, he did come back down to earth by only throwing for 1 touchdown. But I think there's been multiple people that talked to him during the draft process, and also when he was looking at possibly going to baseball, and everyone said whatever he chooses to do, he's going to be great at. He has a great mind, he has great work ethic, and he's incredibly athletic. Obviously, he's got a great arm, and so for those reasons, I feel like, especially paired with Andy Reid, I'm sure Andy Reid definitely helps that, but I don't think that it's Andy Reid's system alone. We saw Alex Smith, 2 years ago in Andy Reid's system, and he wasn't as good as he was at the beginning of this last year. So I think that Mahomes is the real deal, and I think that the Chiefs have a star, on their team, and if they can fix up defense a little bit in the next year or two, they can use that cheap rookie contract for the quarterback and make a push.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've ever seen anyone with Von Miller draped around him, holding onto his legs, and Mahomes was able to switch hands and throw a left-handed pass there late in the clutch, as well as pick up a first down on a 2nd and 30. I mean, on that drive. I mean, that was incredible. Stoyo, I think him switching hands and throwing left-handed like that and doing some of this crazy stuff, it reminds me a little bit of Brett Favre. The problem, Brett was a great quarterback, but Brett also turned the ball over a lot. And Mahomes turned the ball over in college. Do you think that this could be something that in the future he starts to turn the ball over a little bit more? Or are you all in on Mahomes through 4 weeks or 5 games?
I wouldn't say I'm all in on Mahomes, but I don't think he's thrown a pick yet this season.
Yeah.
I'm just a fan of his, and I think there's a lot of potential there. That play where he switches the ball was just like something else. I've never seen that before. And yeah, when you have Von Miller about to sack you, a lot of people just panic, and he somehow got it out of there, and it worked.
That's a good point, and something that is you can't talk enough about is the fact that, it doesn't matter if you play, you're a decent quarterback for the first half of the game, it matters what you do in the clutch. And we saw Case Keenum in the clutch, not able to hit the open guy. Mahomes seems to have a cool head about him for only his 5th start, and able to get it done in the clutch, even with Von Miller and these guys around him. So, I don't know. I'm going to say this. I think that defenses usually give them a year and they kind of adjust, or a few starts and adjust. I think that Mahomes will come back down to earth a little bit. So I don't know. I'm not really ready to say these Chiefs are a Super Bowl contender yet, but Mahomes has looked very well so far.
You mentioned how you play at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And why that matters. He went in the last 2 drives. He went 13 for 16, so he was making his completions. He was getting the passes down to his guys. That pass he made on 2nd and 30, running like that, and just he put that on a rope to his receiver and got it down there near the first down line. The left-handed throw, I'm not sure if that was awesome or the dumbest thing you can possibly do. It's usually switching hands.
That's why I said Brett Favre. Brett Favre would do some shit like that.
Yeah. It seems like that would not be a smart move, but it's hard to argue with the results. But it's the other thing is he has the athleticism to move the ball with his feet on the ground, but he uses his athleticism to make throws. He doesn't use that as a crutch, like, oh, my first read or even second read isn't open, now I'm just going to scramble. He uses his legs, much like Russell Wilson, to keep plays alive and make throws down the field, giving guys like Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, and Kareem Hunt, and Travis Kelce, he obviously has a lot of great weapons on his team, to get open and help him make some plays. So I think that it's a dangerous offense. He's going to throw a pick. He's not going to have a 0 in that column at the end of this season. But he's starting now technically it's not his rookie year, but essentially his first full season is starting. 14 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like this from someone. I was thinking back to some of the quarterback phenoms. Rodgers, can't really equate him. He sat for too long. Andrew Luck, RG3, Deshaun Watson, even he, as much as as electric he was last year, his first 2 games, he was not very great. We haven't seen anyone come out and start their career out at quarterback like this, maybe in my lifetime.
Yeah, so incredibly hot start. I'm still in the camp that I think he's going to come back down to earth. But
what does that mean, though? Is he going to turn into Sam Darnold now?
No. But the turnovers will come. Sometimes you go through times when everything's going right, and turnovers don't happen, and you protect the ball. I think with his style of play, he's got a great arm, he's got great athleticism, he's got all the tools. But also with that, being a young quarterback, will come sloppiness as a rookie. And he will turn the ball over here. I think it could happen as soon as next week when they play the Jaguars and that nasty defense. So even when I say come back down to earth, he's still a solid quarterback. I still expect the Chiefs, to probably win their division. They're going to be right there and make some noise come playoff time. So we're all witnessing this as it's going. So we'll see what happens. I'm just not ready to crown him league MVP quite yet. So we'll see.
Well, good, 'cause that happens in 3 months.
I'll give him MVP through 4 weeks. How about that?
There we go.
Let's go. Let's make some predictions for Week 5. Tomorrow night, Colts at Patriots is a big game. Who you got in this, Stoyo? Colts at Patriots.
Patriots.
I got Patriots as well. You got Patriots, Gavin?
Patriots.
3-1 Dolphins at the 3-1 Bengals. Are you guys going? Where are you going here?
I got Bengals. They get Vontaze Burfict back. And I think Dolphins' 3-1 record is better than what they actually are. And I think the Bengals, they look legit this year.
That'd be crazy. The Bengals could be 4-1, and Andy Dalton will be telling all the haters to shut up. Packers at Lions, big game here. The Lions going to bounce back and get a home win against the hated rivals. What do you say, Gavin?
Yeah, I'm going to say the Lions get a win here.
All right.
I think Matt Patricia, he he steps up in the big games. And so I think at home, slightly hobbled Green Bay. I say the Lions get this one.
All right, where are you going, Stoyo?
I guess the one time a year I cheer with Gavin, I'm gonna cheer for the Lions.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. We're all Lions fans this week. I want Green Bay to get back to 500.
I'd always cheer for Detroit, but when I do, they play the Green Bay Packers.
Jags at Chiefs is probably the game of the weekend. Huge game. Where are you guys going here? I'm going. You guys already heard me saying Mahomes might come back down a little bit against that defense. I'm going Jags here. Where you guys got?
I'm gonna go with the Chefs.
Okay, they're gonna stay undefeated.
Absolutely.
Where are you going, Gavin?
Yep, I say the Chiefs as well. I don't think Fournette's going to play. Arrowhead is probably in the top 2 for hardest places to play. Bortles is not going to throw for 380 yards again. And I say Justin Houston, who has the 3rd most sacks since 2013 behind Chandler Jones and Von Miller, is gonna hound Bortles all day. And I give it to the Chiefs.
Nice. A big key in this game is Leonard Fournette's health and availability. And you guys better hope that the Jags don't pull this off, because you might hear Alex come on here and throw like a Blake Bortles outperformed Mahomes type comment. So.
I mean, you can dream.
Let's do Vikings at Eagles. It's a big game. 2 teams, rematch of the NFC Championship game. Kirk Cousins versus Carson Wentz. I'm going to go Vikings with the road win here. Where are you guys going?
I'm going to go with Philly. I hope that Minnesota is really in trouble, so go Philly.
Yeah, all right. Where you got, Gavin?
Yep, Philly as well. Another game of rust shaking off of Carson Wentz. Alshon Jeffrey is going to have a big day.
Man, Minnesota will be hating life if they're 1-3-1. Rams at Seahawks, a big NFC West showdown. Do the Seahawks hand the Rams their first loss? What do you think, Gavin?
Nah, the Rams are too good. They're firing on all cylinders. They got 4 sacks this last week. I think they'll get the same amount on Russell Wilson up there in Seattle. And their offense is going to be too strong for a defense that has lost yet another member of the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think, Stoyo?
This is a classic trap game. LA is supposed to win this by a margin, but somehow Seattle's going to steal this game.
I'm with you, Stoyo. CenturyLink Field, they get loud. Crazy shit happens.
Division game.
Yeah. The Rams are supposed to win it. They're the more talented team by far, and yet somehow the Seahawks pull this off.
The Rams win this game when they were a bad team. I don't see how they lose it when they were a good team.
I don't know. Crazy shit happens out there in Seattle. I think it's something in the air, the rain. Sunday Night Football, Cowboys at Texans. Deshaun Watson going up against that Cowboys pass rush. I am going Texans. Where are you guys going here?
Texans.
I got the Texans as well, especially if Will Fuller is able to play.
Yeah.
He needs someone to donate him a hamstring.
Yeah. And Cowboys aren't for real, so Texans should do that. Get 2 straight wins under their belt. Monday Night Football, Redskins at the Saints. I think this is a pretty easy pick. I'm going Saints. I'm not a believer in Washington. What do you think? Saints, yeah.
I got the Saints, but I don't think it's as easy as you mentioned. The Redskins are coming off a bye. They've had extra time. And I know that we have different opinions on the Redskins this year just in general.
The Redskins made me happy with how they played against the Packers. I was pretty surprised. But, so maybe they're better than I expected. I still say the Saints win this by like double digits, though.
Oh, I agree. I mean, the Saints haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher in how many games was that? In a long time. And Adrian Peterson has been a good chunk of the reason why they've had some success on offense. And so if they are able to shut him down, make Alex Smith win the game against Drew Brees. I don't think that's going to be possible.
Yeah, I agree. Last minute.
13 games, by the way,
Nice.
since they've had allowed a 100-yard rusher.
The Saints, wow.
Yeah.
Last minute news here: Colts rule out T.Y. Hilton will not be playing against the Patriots tomorrow night. So even more, so I'm going Patriots in that game. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks. Good job. Another week down. We'll be back next week. We'll got some guests coming up, and we'll keep going on. It's good to have the crew back, and we'll try to be back next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave a comment, and have a good week, guys. Peace out.